Alright, so I'm here to be completely honest again. I panic bought more books, so here we are. Hey folks, my name is Jen, and yes, today we are here to talk very quickly about some books that I just panic bought. I have some other plans for videos. I know that I've been kind of lacking in videos lately, and it's because I just haven't been really reading, and mentally I've not been doing the fucking greatest lately. So I have been spending all of my time writing, pretty much trying to avoid doom scrolling, trying to avoid life. So been doing a lot of writing, been doing some reading, not too much. I only read 4 books in March, none of which I think were any of them and what I really wanted to read in March. I don't think so. But you know what? They were still pretty good reads. You'll hear more about that soon. But I had that and like a couple other videos I was trying to get done. I had one I was trying to edit, but it's taking so long. And then I had that one, but I haven't formulated my thoughts about the books that I've read yet. And then also I totally forgot that, like, I already passed my, like, 5-year booktube anniversary thing. I was gonna do something for that. Didn't fucking do that either. So, here's where we are. I'm a mess. If you've still stuck around, I appreciate you. And yeah, you don't care about any of this. You want to hear about what books I bought. I'm an insane person, so yeah, I bought a few books. The first couple were bought for a couple of reasons, one of which being I just read a book recently that I will talk definitely more about in my March wrap-up, but I read Fan Service by Rosie Danan, and I fucking loved it. So immediately I was like, okay, I need to read her other books, obviously, because that's where my brain at, because I haven't talked about this, I don't think. The writing project that I have been working on is a love story, and I have never written one of those before, and never really thought that I would write one of those because my one true love is mysteries, and I also dabble in horror and poetry, so never in my life thought I would actually sit down and write a romance at all, even though I do enjoy them for the most part, but here we are. This is what I'm doing. So I figured, what could I do? I could get a couple of different romances and I could read them. So just to keep my brain in that genre and see if I can actually, you know, do some reading on top of that, because that's what my brain is like, in that zone now. So first up, I grabbed another Rosie Danan book. This is Do Your Worst. This is an older book of hers. This says, Riley Rhodes finally has a chance to turn her family's knack for the supernatural into a legitimate business when she's hired to break the curse on an infamous Scottish castle. Well, you got me right there. You got a Scottish castle. Here we go. Used to working alone in her alienating occupation, she's pleasantly surprised to meet a handsome stranger upon arrival until he tries to get her fired. Fresh off a professional scandal, Clark Edgware can't allow a self-proclaimed curse breaker to threaten his last chance for redemption. After he fails to get Riley kicked off his survey site, he vows to avoid her. Unfortunately for him, she vows to get even. Riley expects the curse to do her dirty work by driving Clark away, but instead they keep finding themselves in close proximity. Too close. Turns out the only thing they do better than fight is fool around. If they're not careful, by the end of all this, more than the castle will end up in ruins. That sounds promising. I am honestly not a usual enemies to lovers girly. I'm usually a friends to lovers or fake dating. Fake dating is a trope that I very much enjoy for reasons I don't know how to explain. But the other book of hers was kind of an enemies to lovers situation, and I ate that shit up. So I'm like, you know what, maybe this is my vibe right now, so I figure I'd love to read another one of hers. Spicy, I'll tell you that. And then I figured, you know what, I should just read instead of using Nora Roberts kind of as my basis for the romance genre, even though she's been in the game for a long time, and also Alyssa Cole, I love Alyssa Cole's writing, I was like, maybe I should branch out and read some other, like, really popular ones right now. I've already tried a foray into dark romance. I might try another one just to see, but that's not where I'm at right now. But I figured, well, what is one of the most popular ones that I haven't heard anybody shut up about for the past couple of years? Allie Hazelwood. So I grabbed her first one, The Love Hypothesis, and figured we'll give this a try. If you don't know, it's a fake relationship. I just told you I do love that. As a third-year PhD candidate, Olive Smith doesn't believe in lasting romantic relationships, but her best friend does, and that's what got her into the situation, convincing On that Olive is dating and well on her way to a happily ever after was always going to take more than hand-wavy Jedi mind tricks. Scientists require proof, so like any self-respecting biologist, Olive panics and kisses the first man she sees. I see what you did there with the Star Wars thing. This is a Rilo fanfic, isn't it? I don't remember. That man is none other than Adam Carlson. Yes, it is a Rilo fanfic. Okay. Young hotshot professor and well-known ass, which is why Olive is positively floored when Stanford's reigning lab tyrant agrees to keep her charade a secret and be her fake boyfriend, and when the big scientist conference goes haywire, putting Olive's career on the Bunsen burner, Adam surprises her again with his unyielding support and even more unyielding six-pack abs. So, yeah, I haven't read that many scientists in love type thing. There's like one of Alyssa Cole's books had that kind of, well, one of them is a scientist, the other one is a prince, but that's different. So, don't know what to think about this. Last time I really had anything to do with scientists in fiction was Big Bang Theory, and that was fucking dog's age ago. But yeah, so I don't know what to expect. I know that this was originally a Rilo fanfiction, I believe, and its enemy, not enemies to lovers, fake dating, which, as I said, is a trope that I love. So I don't know what to expect from this. I've heard a lot of eye rolling. I've heard a lot of ooh-hoo, you know, so I don't know. But we're going to give it a try because I figured it's probably a good idea to jump into. It's a really popular one over the past couple of years, so yeah. And then I also ended up grabbing The Butterfly Girl by Renee Denfeld. I read The Child Finder last year. Was it last year? Was it? No, was that not that long ago? Guys, I can't even. Time is wibbly wobbly in my brain right now. I remembered how much I liked that book. Even though parts of it are very hard to read. Still a very well told story, and I was still interested in where the characters are going to go in the future, and I was like, oh hey, is there any more books? Because this felt like it was leading into something else. Well, there was a sequel, so obviously grab the sequel. I don't want to talk too much about it because there is a first book, but this is basically about Naomi, and she is a child finder. She is uniquely gifted and able to track down abducted children. Is a knack that she has. She's very fucking good at it, but at the same time she is also still grappling with her past that she can't fully remember, but in the first book she did manage to remember a couple of details, so now part of this is her out there seeking answers for her own past, basically, as well as trying to help another child who has been abducted. This one takes place in Oregon. Yeah, this one takes place in Oregon. The other one was in, I thought it was also in Oregon. Maybe it was Montana? I don't know. It was somewhere out in the west coast-ish area. Yeah. Then I grabbed another book. This is a non-fiction book. So I'm not a self-help girly at all. I have some thoughts about the genre, but this book is towing the line between a writing book and a self-help, so I figured, you know, I heard it talked about on a podcast by someone who I respect. I have heard it come up a couple of other times, and recently on our getaway, I just kind of made a new writing friend, possibly, and she also mentioned this, and I was like, God damn it, maybe that's a sign. It's like 2-3 times I've heard this talked about now. Maybe that is a sign that I should try this book out. It's The Artist's Way, Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity, by Julia Cameron, who, by the way, funny enough, her brother is James Cameron, like the Avatar Titanic director dude. Yeah. So, yeah. It's like a whole program type thing where you have all these things that's like keeping a journal for so long. Weeks, I think, like 12 weeks or something like that, and you keep this journal and you basically journal in it, and it's supposed to help you unlock your creativity better. I have heard mixed things about it, because I also did look it up elsewhere online, mostly Reddit, and they're kind of like, guess a little bit godlike, and that's not really my jam, but the way I figure it, well, if it gets a little bit too higher powery, I can just skip over that section, no problem. But yeah, so I figured, well, might as well give it a try anyway, because it might be interesting, and even though I'm doing really good work writing right now, I am doing this in a place of desperation coming out from last year where I was having a real hard time. So I figured, you know what is a better way to keep myself on track writing? And I did do a course in college about why I write and getting to the nitty-gritty of that, but why not dig into a little more reasons and get in that stuff, you know what I mean? And then I got another couple of non-fiction books. A couple of them have been books I've been wanting to get a hold of for a while, and I just got a little bit nervous about, I don't know, just a little bit nervous about their availability. So I grabbed them. The first of which is Persepolis, Story of a Childhood by Marjane Satrapi. This is a graphic novel about the author's childhood, basically growing up in Iran during the Islamic Revolution. So this is about that. I didn't realize until after that, oops, there's 2 volumes and I just grabbed volume 1. So I'll probably grab volume 2 at some point too, but yeah, I wanted to grab volume 1, and I don't really know that much about the Islamic Revolution at all. So I also figured that was a good place to start for learning more things. And then I also, I'd heard about this recently on a podcast and thought it was really cool. I decided to grab a copy as well, and it is called Invisible, The Forgotten Story of a Black Woman Lawyer Who Took Down America's Most Powerful Mobster. This is by Stephen L. Carter. This is actually the author's grandmother. He wrote a book about his grandmother. Her name was Eunice Hunton Carter. She was black and a woman and a prosecutor, a graduate of Smith College, and the granddaughter of slaves, as dazzlingly unlikely a combination as one could imagine in the New York of the 1930s. And without the strategy she devised, Lucky Luciano, the most powerful mafia boss in history, would never have been convicted. When Special Prosecutor Thomas E. Dewey selected 20 lawyers to help him clean up the city's underworld, she was the only member of his team who is not a white male. Eunice Hunton Carter, Stephen L. Carter's grandmother, was raised in a world of stultifying expectations about race and gender, yet by the 1940s her professional and political successes had made her one of the most famous black women in America, but her triumphs were shadowed by prejudice, tragedy, and family conflict. I have never heard of this woman in my life until I listened to that podcast that was talking about, like, this particular case. So, like, I was like, that is a damn shame. And I wanted to make sure that I actually was able to read a book about this amazing woman, because some people seem to think that amazing women like this shouldn't be in history books at all. So, yeah, I grabbed that. The last couple of books I grabbed were also Panic, and they're actually what started this panic buying situation, where I was just like, I need to get copies of these. And then other things in my mind when I was like, well, I've been meaning to get that book, well, I've been meaning to get that book, oh, I just heard about that one, oh, hey, that, you know, all of that, the reasons I just gave. But these were the books that, yeah, I panicked, and I was like, I need to have physical copies of these. So, yeah, first is, that's the Federalist, or rather, it's the Federalist Papers. So you know that part in Hamilton where they talk about John Jay and James Madison and Alexander Hamilton came together to write a series of essays defending the Constitution, and how it's like, oh, John Jay got sick after like 10, James Madison wrote blah 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 blah, and it was like Alexander Hamilton wrote the other 51. This is the motherfuckers that they were talking about. These papers right here. So yeah, I figured that that was too dry of a read, potentially. If you want some spicy Alexander Hamilton reading, you should read his letters to Eliza and stuff. But yeah, figured it might be a little bit too dry. And I figured I could always just read them online, on the online archives, National Archives, because that's where I've read a lot of other things. But because if you are an American and you've noticed lately that certain websites have been down or changing or things going on, I don't know, I got really nervous that I was not going to have access to that anymore. So yeah, I wanted my own copy. Also, I just recently saw it at the Airbnb we stayed at, and I flipped through a couple of pages, and I was like, this is actually way easy. I was making myself feel like an idiot. I was like, there's no way I can comprehend this. I comprehended it well enough. So I was like, okay, this is not as hard of a read as I thought it was going to be. So, yeah, I grabbed a copy of Federalist Papers. This is not a sit down in one go and read. This is probably a several months read, I imagine. And then I also got scared that it's probably going to sound really paranoid, unless you, like me, are also really having a hard time right now and freaked out and everything. I'm just worried that I know, as someone who went through the school system, I know what certain particular important documents in our country say, or the gist of them anyway. And as someone who enjoys history a lot, especially that particular period of history, I probably remember a little bit more of those documents than the average person, but I never want there to be an occasion where I have to get into an argument with someone about me being like, well, this is what it says, and them saying, no, that's not what it says, and me saying, yes, it is, and them pulling it up on their phone on the National Archives and saying, this is what it says, and it's completely different than what I was taught and what it ever said. Doesn't make any sense. Am I sounding like a crazy person? I feel like I'm sounding like a crazy person. Anyway, I wanted a goddamn copy of the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, amendments, and historical documents. So I got one. So no one can ever, and I bought this thrifted, so it's an old copy, and so that no one can try to gaslight me and tell me that I'm remembering history wrong. If you know, you know. So yeah, that was my panic buying. But you know what, at the end of the day, am I feeling bad about getting out of these books? No! I am not. Feeling pretty secure right now. Pretty good with my choices. I got some books that might be banned, I got some books that might be changed, and I got some smut. That's really all anyone can ask for, right? Anyway, these were the lovely books that I recently got. I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about them. Hopefully you will be hearing about them, or at least some of them, fairly soon. Because I know 100% I will be diving into at least the romance novels this month. But I am also hoping to dig into a couple of these other like nonfiction ones starting this month, or at least this spring anyway. I hope that you all are doing okay. I wish you luck in your own panic buying if you also feel compelled to do so. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for always watching. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, please do so. And yeah, stay tuned because hopefully, well, like I said, I have another couple of videos I'm hoping to find time between everything to work on and get out to you, and then also in the future be hearing reviews probably of hopefully a few of these books. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.